Hello friends, I spent the last couple weeks exploring the intricacies of building AI voice agents. I am equally brimming with excitement about this technology and overwhelmed by the complexity in this space. Remember when we all thought Siri was revolutionary? Well, what's coming makes those early voice assistants look like calculators compared to supercomputers. I've been exploring the latest research on high-performance AI voice agents, and I want to share what I'm learning about where things stand today, the challenges ahead, and what this might mean for our businesses. What makes today's voice AI different? First, let me share what I'm discovering about the current state of voice agents. The game has fundamentally changed in the last 12-18 months. The big breakthrough? Latency. The best systems today can respond in under 250 milliseconds. That might not sound impressive until you realize that human conversation typically has a 250 gap between speakers. In other words, these AI voice agents can now respond as quickly as a human would in conversation. I was fascinated to learn from DeepGram's research that users expect about a 1-second response time to maintain flow in a conversation, and that a 2-second delay can double bounce rates. Their Aura system is apparently achieving under 250 milliseconds end-to-end latency, which is quite remarkable. But it's not just speed. These systems are becoming more emotionally intelligent too. Hume AI's EVI3, empathic voice interface, can actually detect your emotional state from your voice and respond with appropriate emotional tone. In blind tests, it apparently outperformed even OpenAI's GPT-4o in terms of empathy and expressiveness. As someone who cares deeply about human connection, I find this fascinating. I'm also struck by how these systems are being built to be more factual and grounded. Through a technique called Retrieval Augmented Generation, RAG, voice agents can now pull from up-to-date knowledge bases rather than just relying on what they learned during training. This means they can answer questions about your specific business, recent events, or specialized topics without hallucinating made-up answers. The architecture behind modern voice. AI. What's enabling these advances? I've been digging into the technical side, so you don't have to, and it comes down to a few key architectural approaches. The traditional approach uses a pipeline. Speech recognition turns your words into text, a language model figures out a response, and then text-to-speech creates the spoken reply. But now, researchers at places like Google, with AudioPalm, and Meta, with VoiceBox, are developing end-to-end models that can go directly from speech to speech in one unified system. I'm particularly intrigued by what Hume AI is doing with their EVI3 model. According to their founder, Alan Cowan, it's essentially a speech-language model that hears and speaks directly, preserving emotional nuances that might get lost in a pipeline approach. The most practical implementations today, though, still use modular designs where different components can be swapped out or improved independently. This makes a lot of sense to me from a business perspective. You can upgrade just your speech recognition without changing everything else, or switch to a better text-to-speech voice if a new one becomes available. The human side. What this means for people. As I've been exploring this technology, I keep coming back to my core question. How do we ensure this serves people rather than replacing or diminishing them? The emotional intelligence aspect fascinates me. On one hand, an empathetic AI voice could make technology more accessible and comfortable for many people. On the other hand, I worry about the ethics of machines that can detect and potentially manipulate human emotions. The Partnership on AI has published some thoughtful guidelines on this topic, suggesting transparency and limits on how emotional AI should be used. I think that's right. We need to be intentional about when and how we deploy these capabilities. I'm also concerned about bias in these systems. A study from Georgia Tech found that most speech recognition systems have significantly higher error rates for minority English dialects, like African American vernacular English. The exception was OpenAI's Whisper, which performed better because it was trained on more diverse data. This is a reminder that we need to demand inclusive technology that works for everyone. Industry-specific considerations. What's fascinating is how different industries have very different requirements for voice AI. Healthcare needs extremely high accuracy, medication names can't be misheard, strong privacy protections for patient data, and often works best with on-premise deployment rather than cloud processing. Financial services requires exceptional security, compliance with regulations like FINRA, in a formal, clear tone that builds trust. Education benefits from emotional intelligence to keep students engaged, needs to be adaptable to different learning styles, and must be designed with strong content filtering for younger users. Automotive applications need to work offline and handle noisy environments with extremely fast response times for safety-critical commands. Customer service deployments focus on cost efficiency at scale while maintaining quality and need seamless handoffs to human agents when necessary. As I consider potential applications in my own business, I'm realizing that voice AI isn't one size fits all. The most successful implementations will be thoughtfully designed for specific contexts and needs. Looking forward, what's next? So what does all this mean for us as business leaders? I see three key implications. First, voice is becoming a viable interface for many business applications sooner than we might have expected. The days of frustrating robotic voice assistants are rapidly giving way to systems that feel natural and responsive. Second, we have an opportunity to reimagine customer and employee experiences. Voice agents that combine the consistency of automation with emotional intelligence of human interaction could transform everything from customer support to productivity tools. Third, we have a responsibility to deploy this technology thoughtfully. Issues like emotional manipulation, privacy, bias, and appropriate use cases need careful consideration before implementation. NVIDIA, Cloudflare, OpenAI, Google, Meta, Hume AI, 11 Labs, and DeepGram are all pushing the boundaries in different ways. I'm particularly intrigued by Cloudflare's AutoRag, which makes it easy to create voice agents that can answer questions from your company's knowledge base. A practical application that could deliver immediate value. Questions I'm sitting with. As I continue exploring this space, here are some questions I'm considering for my own business. Where could voice agents reduce friction or create new possibilities to best serve our clients? How might we use this technology to amplify our team's human capabilities rather than replace their work? What guardrails would we need to put in place to ensure ethical and responsible use? How can we ensure any voice technology we deploy works well for all the diverse people we serve? I'd love to hear your thoughts on this too. Are you exploring voice AI in your organization? What opportunities or concerns do you see? I encourage us to think big about the possibilities. Start small with targeted implementations, and remember that the best technology amplifies human creativity, connection, and impact rather than diminishing it. Thanks for your attention, y'all. Peace out, my rascals. Sajay.